This is a great life. I mean, come on. We get to go on adventures on bicycles. How great is that? And what else is great is the companies that are part of this community. And one of those companies is Two Terrain. They make some really good products that I really love because I use them while riding long distance. They make the Sync 5 Plug Plus. It's a USB charger that you can connect to your Dynamo hub. Mine busted. It stopped working altogether. And they just sent me a new one, brand new. I just gave them some information on what happened and how I felt. It was probably the battery pack that was broken here. They just sent me a whole new one. So, Two Terrain, hats off to you. Thanks, guys. But that's not what we're talking about today. In this video, we're gonna cover the 3 things that I learned from long distance cycling, more specifically this last Century ride that Kate and I did. I'm gonna have a more cinematic video covering that Century ride, and I'm really excited to get that out. It's just gonna take me a little bit longer. I just wanted to have a quick video here for you to be able to watch for those that have been following my Century ride, my trepidations about it, my injuries, my excitement. Just wanted to get something out quick. So let's get started. If you're watching this video, you've probably been a subscriber for a while. And I'm really excited because we're creeping up on 1,000. We got about 45 to go. But if you are new here, my name's Joe. I love adventure and building the tools that help get me there. In this channel, I have a lot of fun showcasing my adventures, my builds, and just a lot of things that I'm really interested in. So if you like any of that stuff, go ahead and click the subscribe button. So let's talk about the 3 things that I learned from long distance cycling, specifically the Century ride that I've done this year. To recap, every year right around the 4th of July, I do a Century from my home in Madison, Wisconsin to Galena, Illinois. I planned different routes, and this year I planned a little bit of different route, more pavement, less gravel, but still a good mix of pavement, gravel, and single track. It's one of my most favorite rides. So the first thing that I learned is that rides like this, especially this year's Century ride, are not linear. You're gonna have highs and lows. You don't start out strong and finish weak. This year, especially for me, I had more energy at mile 85 than I did at mile 15. And there's a lot of different reasons for that. One of them is I planned this year's route around the wind. We started out the route heading straight west.
Hey Joe, how are you feeling about the start of the Century ride?
A little delayed. And then predominantly went south by southwest. The wind was coming from the west. So most of our route, we had a crosswind that wasn't too strong. That really helped us a lot. Having more pavement helped out a lot too. Plus we weren't in the woods where a lot of the gravel is on this route, so we didn't face too many bugs frustrating us. The other reason, and I'll cover this more later, is having somebody ride with you for motivation was really helpful. And I think largely by mile 85, I pinpoint that mile for a specific reason. 15 miles in, 15 miles towards the end. I think I had a really good runner's high. A lot of you ultra marathoners and other long distance cyclists know exactly what I mean by runner's high. Depending on what research you look at, it's either a release of endorphins or the molecule endocannabinoids. Whatever hormone or molecule causes it, it's basically just a state of euphoria while you're doing intense or lengthy exercise, like a Century ride. At mile 85, I felt like I could keep going. At mile 100, I felt like I had just accomplished something great, which, I mean, it's not easy to do a Century ride, so I did. But it was one of the best Century rides I've ever had. And once we got to Galena, I felt like I could keep riding more. The other thing I learned is I was being really picky about my drivetrain for all my bikes. For years, I've been obsessed with my gear inches, getting them low enough so I can climb the hills that I want. Typically on my long distance rides, I've ridden bikes that have been on the heavier side, and this ride was no different. I prominently ride in the Drifus region in southwest Wisconsin, and some of those hills are very challenging. Oftentimes I'm climbing anywhere from an 8 to 12% grade. So I typically like to get my gear inches below 20 to be able to do that, especially if I'm riding a heavy bike. On this Century ride, I rode my 2015 Specialized Daywall. I absolutely love that bike. We've been through a lot, but you wouldn't typically think of it as suited for long distance rides with lots of hills. But I've changed the setup a little bit. It's an 11-speed setup with a 46-36 compact setup in the front and an 11-36 cassette. Those of you that are pretty familiar with the SRAM Rival setup know that that long cage derailleur capacity on a rear cog is 34 teeth. And my top is a 36 tooth cog. Well, I cheated the setup by using a Wolf Tooth Road Link. That handy little device extends the derailleur so it can get up to that 36 tooth cog. It's a great setup, it shifts smoothly. I absolutely love it. And I fell in love with it more on this ride. That big 46 tooth chainring in the front allowed me to pedal hard going down hills. So I can get up that very next hill that's right after that long downhill. Now this works for this particular type of riding in this particular region because it's hilly. Now if I'm climbing the Cascades like I did 4 years ago, I'm not gonna want this setup at all because it's straight climbing. But this worked really great for me in the hilly Driftless region, and it made this ride a lot more fun. During the first part of the ride, it was pretty easy. It was on an old rail trail, predominantly flat, with a very, very small uphill grade, 2 or 3% at the most. But then you can hear me say, once I made this really big turn towards the hills of the Driftless region, how much more I was gonna feel challenged. But now we're gonna stray from the Military Ridge and really bear down on some hills. The rest of the ride's gonna be super challenging. We're up for it though. Here we go, time to bear down. And with those first couple of hills, I felt I made the wrong decision. 15 miles after that, I felt like I made the right decision riding this bike, and I had a lot of fun doing it. Now the last thing that I learned, probably the most important one on here, I alluded to it earlier. I've done this century ride prominently by myself over the last 7 or 8 years. But having Kate with me as a riding companion to motivate me and for me to motivate her, it helped make me feel more energetic during the ride, and it helped get me motivated at the end of some of those breaks. And having Kate with me as a riding companion really made this one of the most enjoyable century rides I've ever done. So as I mentioned earlier, we're creeping up on 1,000 subs, and after 25 videos in the last 6 months, I've had a lot of fun creating all the content, reading all your comments, and just having you be part of this growing community. And I have a lot of great adventures coming up. If you want to stick around for the bike builds, the canoe build, the bike and canoe adventures, go ahead and hit subscribe if you haven't already. Go ahead and like this video if you found it entertaining or interesting. Stick around, there's gonna be a lot more great content. If you live in the Midwest or you find yourself in the Midwest, I would love to ride with you. Go ahead and leave a comment down below or follow me on Instagram and send me a DM. So thanks for watching everybody. Ride safe out there, seek adventure, and keep your wheels rolling in the right direction. I'll see you in the next video.